Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Denes Boros, and from the formation you probably have guessed that we're going to talk about the King's Gambit. And as you might have known and seen in the previous video where we talked about the top 5 gambits, this one is somewhat of a special place, one of the favorites of the legend himself, Bobby Fischer. So I felt it's time for us to investigate why Fischer loved the King's Gambit so much, and if we want to play it ourselves, should we follow the footsteps of Fischer? For that, we've got to investigate. So in this position, already White has some kind of pressure on the f7 pawn. However, that king on f2 is a little bit funky. But let's start from the beginning. e4, e5, f4. This is the King's Gambit. You sacrifice the pawn. Now, there are many variations here, but the most challenging is always to accept it. E takes f4, bishop c4. And there was a big debate whether knight f3 is playable. It is playable and is played on high level occasionally. But bishop c4 was a Fischer special, and it deserves that exclamation mark because it's probably one of the best moves out there. Now here, Minich, his opponent, played knight e7. However, we have to mention that the check on h4 is possible and is played often and just as often as knight f6, which is a much more common move than knight e7. Why? Well, because of knight c3, what Fischer played, controlling that d5 square. That's the whole point of bishop c4, controlling the d5 square. And if black doesn't manage to break open the position, white will have enough time to build the formation we've been talking about, this number 4. But we're going to get there in a bit. Knight c3, c6, trying to open it up still. Knight f3, d5, bishop b3. Now, this is a strange choice, seemingly. Why not exchange on d5? Well, this knight on e7 is somewhat uncomfortable, and it can't really go to any good squares. Knight g6 is not particularly appealing. So, with that move, bishop b3, he's saying, hey, you've got to make a move. You've got to prove what is your knight doing on e7. Therefore, he just keeps the tension and forces Minich to unravel himself. He takes c4, knight takes c4, knight d5. And in fact, the psychological warfare was won by Fischer. Minich had to concede and lost some time in the process, as Fischer got his knight in the center with this maneuver and this tricky move, bishop b3. However, here comes Fischer's second brilliant idea, noticing that black's king is still in the center and is quite a few moves away from castling. Therefore, he takes action, plays queen e2, sets up pressure there, and if there is no blocking, so let's say knight d7, then a rude awakening might follow after knight d6, as it is a checkmate. Obviously, as this is a high-stake event, black obviously avoided it with bishop e7. Now, normally we would go castling. As per the rules of chess, you don't necessarily want to risk your king being in the middle. However, Fischer knows and feels the dynamics of the King's Gambit and instead decides to activate his pieces. Goes c4, just claiming the center, and c7, d4. The point is, in the long run, if he manages to keep the center and get this king into safety, there's no doubt about who's better. It's white. Now here, black castled. But if knight e6, there is d5, and you would chase the knight away and can capture the pawn in the second go. Castles, bishop takes f4. Now bishop takes f4 seems like the most logical move in the world. However, this king on e1 is still in the middle and is poised to get in danger. With knight e6, bishop e3, bishop b4 check, king f2. And this is a brave move by Fischer, but well calculated one. The point is, yes, you can castle, but also you can castle with your bare hands. And sometimes grandmasters do that if they have time on their hands. And here, Fischer clearly has time on his hands, as this bishop is awkward. This knight is sort of blocking the view of this rook getting there. So white will have enough time to go rook f1, king g1, and enjoy an advantage in that way. Knight d7, c5. And c5 is a very strong move, again preparing this number 4. Get your rook on the f-file, the main idea of the King's Gambit, and put pressure on the f7 pawn with your bishop on b3. Also, c5 makes sure that Minich's bishop on b4 is cut off. So basically, not only did Fischer get his plan on the right track, he also cut off Minich's bishop. Knight f6, knight takes f6, queen f6, rook f1. All according to the plan. Fischer has everything ready to get the formation done. The only move that he needs to get there is king g1. Knight f4, a good move by Minich, trying to exchange as many pieces as possible, therefore kind of easing the tension. Bishop f4, queen takes f4. And seemingly everything is fine for black. If king g1, there is this move of bishop g4. And then white cannot really avoid more exchanges, which would favor the one who has less space and less coordinated pieces, therefore black. So here comes Fischer's unique idea of g3. Why is it unique? Well, normally you do not want to weaken your king side, where your king is residing at the moment. However, it has a deeper goal, and the deeper goal is to kick out this lady and make this knight e5 possible. Notice that wasn't really possible because the queen was pinning our king. Queen h6. Now we're just a move away and we do get the number 4 formation ready. We're ready to pounce. Bishop h3, and this is the most beautiful move of the King's Gambit that every King's Gambit player dreams of playing, and that is knight e5. Why is this so special? Well, Fischer is saying, I do not care for your bishop. You can take here. You can take the exchange, but it doesn't matter. Your pieces are scattered all around the board. They're useless. And what really matters is this f7 pawn. Bishop f1, rook takes f1, pressing there. Now, you could try to move the king away, but then there's knight takes f7 check, attacking both the queen and the king. After rook takes f7, rook takes f7. This is just a big advantage for Bobby Fischer. So black goes bishop d2 instead of king h8 that we looked at, and bishop d2. And the idea is the following. He wants to go queen e3 and exchange queens. Now, the computer, as you might have checked, or we'll check later on, will say, hey, you don't have to worry about it. Queen e3 is not such a big deal. But Fischer, as prophylactic as he is, makes sure nothing funny ever happens and the initiative stays firmly in his hands. So he goes a rook f3, which is a very strong move saying, hey, no funny business. You're going to go down on the f7 square. Rook d8. Now knight takes f7, rook takes f7, and queen e7. Boom! You can't even touch that lady because the king is pinned. And here black resigned because you can't really defend that rook. There's bishop f7, king here, and queen takes f8. Checkmate. So, seeing queen e7, Minich resigned. And this is one of the games that I really wanted to show you guys. Fischer, if you follow Fischer's plan and you want some active play following this number 4 concept, you can go ahead and play the bishop c4 line instead of a knight f3. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you did, leave comments, likes, and if you have any other questions, do let me know. I'm always happy to respond. So thanks again for watching, and see you next time.